the Center for Strategic Studies. It's also an important moment for me because I have not been residing in Baku for 8 years, and this is first time I'm going to speak about my own topic in my hometown. So, my PhD thesis was about the title was Complex Regionalization in the Wider Black Sea Area. So, bearing in mind such a distinguished and actually elevated panel, I'm not going to go into the details happening in the region. I will rather focus on my main argument. In the next few minutes, I'm going to cover the 4 aspects of my research on the Black Sea region. So I took the regional cooperation in the wider Black Sea area, and I studied it in the context of neo-regionalism and its related conceptual frameworks of sub-regionalism and inter-regionalism. And I believe these post-Cold War approaches to the international regionalism do not effectively help us to understand the regional interrelationships existing in the wider Black Sea area since its creation in 1992. 4 elements. They are the security imperatives, and I'll try to explain to which extent the security community exists in the region. If we are talking about a region building, we of course expect that there is some basic level of some sort of security community in the area, so that the region, or actually an area, could be regionalized. Basically, mutual trust should exist first, and the participants of such a regional arrangement, framework, project, whatever you like, should be able to resolve their problems, not necessarily, basically resolving their problems peacefully, and should not really consider military as a means, as a tool to solve their problems between or among them. In the next, sorry, could we go back to the previous slide, please? So then I will talk about, I think in this panel I will mention about the efficacy of the political mechanisms and institutionalization in the wider Black Sea area. I will also touch upon the extent of trade, intra-regional trade, and to see whether what is the dynamic and what the figures show us with regard to the regionalization process. And finally, I will talk about the role of the region, the role of the core actors, especially EU, but we know Russia and Turkey are also core regional actors in the region, and how that, whether the concepts of sub-regionalism and inter-regionalism explain us or help us to understand such a relationships in the region. Next slide, please. Just to quickly remind ourselves, all the organizations existing in the region, my main argument is that there is some sort of complex regionalization going on in the region. If you look at the region as a whole, you see that in some parts of this wider Black Sea area, from Azerbaijan to Greece, you see bits of this the area are being regionalized, if not integrated already, and there is security community, there is trust existing between a couple of a group of countries in the region, and therefore I think there is a region building process. We can call it regionalization, but it is a process of progressive and as well as regressive actions in the region. So, and the existence of these organizations also contribute to my argument, saying that yes, there is some sort of cooperation, not mainly, maybe not mainly under the framework of the Organization of the Black Sea Economic Cooperation, but there are some other organizations dealing with the region, which contributes to the regional interaction, and the intra-regional trade beyond the format of BSEC is going on, and that probably helps us to justify that there is some region building going on. Next slide, please. What is regionalization? Anyway, I've been talking about this for a few minutes already. Let me share this, my favorite quote with you, which I believe explains more or less what regionalism and regionalization is. So basically, regionalism is a project. Regionalization, I would say, is a process. Regionalism is a phenomenon denoting the formal projects in the broadest sense and implying the empirical process of change from relative heterogeneity and lack of cooperation towards increased cooperation, integration, convergence, coherence in a variety of fields such as culture, security, economic development, politics, within a given geographical space. So we have a given predetermined geographical space, and I am mainly interested in the level of integration, convergence, and coherence, and security, economic development, and politics. I think these are the really the essence of any, not only in the wider Black Sea area, but any region building project in the world, in the globe. And so regionalization would be a process that would make that part of globe area more cohesive and less unstable. So regionalization actually is a good thing, according to this quote. Next slide, please. Right. A lot of people and myself now going to talk about conflict, that if we have conflicts in the region, this is really not indicator of an effective regionalization. I fully agree. But once we have politicians or state persons coming together and agreeing that they are going to build a region, or they are going to be involved in a process which would later probably end up in region, as we have seen in other examples in the globe, including the EU, which started with integration initiative in the Western European Union, which later expanded to the Central and Eastern Europe. So it's logical to suspect that this region can also be, perhaps in the future, may become a similar region. So let me also share this, my favorite quotes with you from Nye. Basically, an international region can be defined broadly as a limited number of states linked by a geographical relationship and by a degree of mutual interdependence. And the other quote, my favorite one, international regionalism is a descriptive sense in the formation of interested associations or groupings on the basis of regions, and in the doctrinal sense, the advocacy of such formations. Basically, even our existence here, the fact that we talk about the Black Sea region is itself a contributing factor to the process, which started in 1992 by the obviously by the Turkish initiative to regionalize the wider area. So we have at least we have the politicians. Well, I basically refer to the governments coming together and discussing how they can. They can improve their cooperation. The level of efficiency, how effective the organizations work, and how concerned the states are to grant some sovereignty to the supranational. Well, BSEC is an intergovernmental organization. That's a different side, different dimension to my argument. Next slide, please. Right, security community. My observation is there is a BSEC, the wider Black Sea region as a whole is not a region. But when we look at the bits of it, we see in the western part of the wider Black Sea area, we see that the BSEC member states are sharing some level of security community, including EU and NATO member states. Also, that could also be said for Turkey and Russia, because we have not seen Turkey and Russia to bear to arms to solve their conflicts for the couple of decades directly, of course. But in the easternmost, especially in South Caucasus, we see that these countries do not preclude themselves from resolving their problems peacefully. Unfortunately, we have the Karabakh conflict as a result of Armenian occupation of Azerbaijan. We have Russian occupation of Georgia. So basically, even starting from 1992, we see the countries are conflicting and not really trying to solve their disputes peacefully, which is not really helpful from the region building perspective. Right, these are the other, wow, 2 minutes. These are the other disputes or problems existing in the wider Black Sea area. Since I have 2 minutes, please to the next slide. So another excellent example for me to showcase here, as you all perfectly know, we have a precedent of solving an international territorial conflict between two Black Sea economic cooperation states peacefully. These countries just apply to the International Court of Justice to solve their problems. Yes, the dimension of this conflict is much different to the others, but maybe this case gives us some, at least a little hope that the situation could perhaps be different. Yes, please, next slide. Yeah, next. Next slide. Right. This is just an overview of the intra-regional trade in the wider Black Sea area. The red one shows the intra-regional trade between the BSEC member states, and the other color shows the trend of trade going on with the EU. We see in the previous slide we saw that the trend for all countries goes upwards, but the BSEC region is still a real center of trade around the Black Sea area, but the trade is increasing with the EU, according to these calculations, which is mine. Do I still have at least a minute? A minute, yeah. Next slide, please. Right. A couple of words about regionalization process in the wider Black Sea area in the context of sub-regionalism and inter-regionalism. Whether it is a European sub-region oriented to the EU, we cannot say that. Only 3 member states of BSEC are oriented, are members of the EU, and there is only one country which is just officially is a EU candidate. The rest of the countries, they either just aspire to become EU member state. The rest, some of them are not really interested. So the concept of sub-regionalism does not really help us to understand the relationships in the wider Black Sea area. The European Union has become an observer in 2007 in the 15th anniversary summit of BSEC in Istanbul. So there is, but the history of BSEC EU relationship goes back to 1990s. The point is, when you look at the BSEC EU relationships, you have Commission on the one hand insisting on EU and bilateral relationships with all the BSEC member states, but you also have BSEC, the assertive BSEC member states such as Turkey and Russia insisting on EU and BSEC cooperating, having their relationships on equal status. But this issue is an ongoing. But once they agree about the format of the relationships, we could perhaps say if it's if interregionalism is relevant here. So Black Sea region is a complex region, and as I said in the beginning of my presentation, we see some level of integration going on some parts of the wider Black Sea area, but we also see that not the entire region as a whole has become region since its creation. Thank you very much for your attention. Thanks for your patience, Mr. Chair.